Hey, welcome back to Well, That's Interesting, the This is Gross, but I'm here for it edition. Today is episode 189, Sperm Whales Avoid Orca Attack with Cloud of Diarrhea, and this Falcon stores live birds as a meal for later on. My friends, today is wild, and I mean it in every sense of the word. From gigantic beasts emerging from the great unknown in the midst of an even greater battle for survival, to flying assassins with behaviors that are oh so familiar. Some might call this bird's exploits sadistic or cruel, but dare I say, girl, we humans do this too. In the first half of the show, we are heading to the land down under. Where else but in Australia can you find one apex predator pursuing another apex predator while another apex predator stands by and watches? Yes, we will be charting a delightful ship out to an aquatic hotspot off the coast of Western Australia, where a very rare scene unfolded before the eyes of a marine biologist and a group of tourists who got a bang for their buck. Orcas have been in the news lately, as they've become the anti-capitalist class warfare generals and heroes we all sorely need. But that same ingenious tactical behavior can also get them into a shitty situation. Literally. My teeny business goose, not many creatures would or should pick on a sperm whale, let alone a group of them. Your average adult male sperm whale is between 15 to 18 meters long, or 49 to 59 feet long, and weigh in at 35 to 45 tons. Females are also fucking huge, clocking in at 11 to 13 meters, or 33 to 40 feet long, and weigh in at 14 to 18 tons. To put these sizes into context, each of the white letters in the Hollywood sign measures 49 feet in length. These whales are about, and sometimes even bigger than that. Now, if you're exceptionally intelligent, like an orca, maybe that can be used to transform one of the largest creatures on Earth into easy prey. Well, after the event we're going to cover, it's possible orcas just learned that massive creatures like sperm whales, take massive shits. And these shits, I'm not going to ruin the fun for you here in the intro, but we are going to get into the nitty-gritty of them, including their size, makeup, how this poop is one of the most important ingredients to maintaining ocean ecosystems, and how taking a dump is a really good defense tactic too. Yeah, it's big in all the ways. Then after the break, birds, unlike any other. For real, we'll be talking about a group of birds whose predatory habits are unlike anything seen in the vertebrate animal kingdom. Excluding humans, of course. My friends, a group of falcons in Morocco have been documented storing live tiny birds in tiny crevices only to return to eat them later on or to feed them to their offspring. I will say that again, they store live animals for consumption. Now, this practice takes a lot of strategy, and we will get into it. Like where exactly and how exactly they do this. It's wild. See, I told you. In the meantime, I'm Jill Chacha, and if this is your first time listening, welcome to the flock, my brilliant business goose. To begin, I'm going to ask you to pack a few things for a wee 8-hour voyage at sea. Maybe some Dramamine, definitely some sunscreen and sunglasses, and most definitely your finest pair of binoculars. Now, I know, for most of us, 8 hours on the open ocean is cause for alarm, but no need to panic, although I get it. Usually when I mention the ocean on this show, it more often than not means we'll be plunging into the depths to meet some creature with an unfathomable amount of limbs or butts, and it's living in an underwater volcano in the middle of nowhere. Okay, Something along those lines, right? Yeah, that's usually how things go around here. But today we can mostly kick back and enjoy the ride. And for those who are here for the butt stuff, don't worry, we will get to it. Just stick around. Okay. My waterproof business goose. We are going whale watching, and we're in the good hands of marine biologist Jenna Tucker. Jenna works for an ecotourism whale watching experience called Naturaliste Charters. And here are a few fun facts about this company. According to the website naturalistecharters.com.au, they are the first company to introduce whale watching tours to Western Australia's southwest. And they've been at this for 30 years. 30 years, which means they've seen nearly everything. Nearly everything. Put a pin in it. They've got a kick-ass catamaran that departs from 3 locations, with tours that start at $55 for 2 hours. That is not too shabby, but we can do better. They just so happen to have an ultra-special tour that departs from Bremer Canyon and sails 50 kilometers or 31 miles out into the vast, perfectly blue Indian Ocean. Round trip takes about 8 hours and costs a little over $300. So, good news. I've booked us on this tour, and I'm going to have to borrow $300. So, where are we going exactly? And why are we heading 30 or so miles out to sea? Don't worry, I've got you. Please, everyone, imagine Australia. Thank you. Now, point to the very southwest corner. Okay, perfect. There you have Bremer Canyon, a coastal town with a protected marine park that's estimated to be up to 5,000 meters or 16,000 feet deep in some spots. It's an exceptional area to see wildlife like seabirds, an array of fish and seals, and the stars of the show, whales and orcas. They are so prevalent down here, Naturaliste Charters has a 100% whale watching guarantee. If we don't see a whale, we get another tour for free. It's not bad. Well, for a group of whale watchers on this same tour earlier this year, they didn't need that guarantee. In fact, they got their money's worth. On a beautiful Tuesday back in March, the skies were clear and the catamaran's captain spotted a massive pod of orcas, numbering around 30, surging forward in a way that indicated they were pursuing something. And surely enough, just a few yards ahead, there was another pod, a much smaller pod in members, but not in size. What I mean to say is this was a family of sperm whales. And if you recall my hefty stats from the beginning of the show, these whales are impressive. So much so that marine biologists have long thought they were pretty much off orca menus. In fact, a sight like this, orcas pursuing sperm whales, has rarely been documented. As to why these orcas gave it a go this time around, we may never know for sure. But perhaps it was merely a numbers game in this instance. 30 versus a handful, this might be in their favor. At least for a while, the strategy seemed to be working. Quote, they were sort of poking their heads out of the water and letting out these huge heaving breaths. The sperm whales were really distressed and exhausted. Jenna told abc.net.au. Well, my friends, it's time. Head on over to our social media stuffs, tap on today's post, and there I'll have screenshots of Jenna's video. Yes, like a proper marine biologist, she was fucking on it, recording the incredible dramatic scene unraveling before the boat. I've got the pictures up here myself, and I have to say, it's not looking good. It's not. In one photo, you could see the heads and backs of a bunch of orcas circling one large whale, and in another photo, there's a whale sticking its entire mouth out of the water, maybe gasping, which is possible because at one point during the attack, the fatigued sperm whales decided to stop moving and shifted to another tactic. Quote, the sperm whales huddled tightly in a circular formation with their heads to the center and fanning their tails out. This is called a rosette, another defensive mechanism they use when they're under attack. End quote. Jenna continued to abc.net.au. Well, my friends, having your back to the enemy is a risky move to say the least. But these whales are massive. Sperm whale tail flukes can reach 16 feet across from tip to tip, and they're attached to an animal that's over 40 feet long. That's a lot of muscle that can pack a devastating punch. So maybe, just maybe, this was the pod's plan, going toe-to-toe, or rather tail-to-face, with 30 hungry orcas. Well, after the whales created their rosette, there was a sudden, eerie stillness, and then a dark red bubble rose to the surface. Quote, everything kind of went quiet, and there was a very solemn sort of mood on the deck of the boat, because we thought they'd potentially taken out a calf, as one of the sperm whales did look significantly smaller than the others. And then the killer whales all just moved off really suddenly. End quote, Jenna said. Wow, my bitey business goose. That was that. As quickly as it started, the scene had ended. And it ended with the orcas potentially capturing what they came for. The captain called it a day, and the catamaran sailed back to shore. It was here Jenna went into full marine biologist mode and reviewed her footage frame by frame. It was then everything really came into focus. Quote, we realized that the big dark bubble we'd seen and assumed might have been blood was actually poo. Ms. Tucker told ABC News. It's called defensive defecation. The sperm whales defecate and swish their tails around through it to fend off or confuse predators. And because sperm whales' diet consists of mostly squid, it's that they actually have this really reddish colored poo. And it seems like it actually worked in this case. It was like the orcas said, no, not worth our time. Everyone move out. End quote. My friends, please, round of applause. These sperm whales took a giant shit on their pursuer. That's well done. Now, you may have a few questions, like what does whale shit actually look like, and does it do more than just save lives in a tricky situation? I'm so glad you asked, especially like that. Well, just as the title of today's episode suggests, it's more like a dispersed cloud than log, if you will. This cloud is truly life-giving, though. Here's what I mean. There are about 800,000 sperm whales in the world, and there are about 250 or so that live off the Caribbean coast of Dominica. And I bring them up because these whales have a habit of sticking around delete. Let's try that again. Okay. I bring them up because these whales have a habit of sticking around Dominica nearly all year long, making them easier to study than other migrating sperm whales. Biologist Shane Giro has studied the Dominican population for nearly 20 years and has seen some pretty spectacular things, especially the cycle of life when it comes to whale poop. Quote, the whale's deep-sea diet means their excrement is full of nutrients not found in the shallow waters, nutrients that remain available on the surface for quite a while due to the poop's oil-slick buoyancy. When people think of an animal that's the size of 1.5 school buses and might weigh 8 to 10 school buses, they might think of enormous solid turds. That's not what it is, said Giro to Ashley Stimson of Atlas Obscura. It's very liquidy. It's like this is my job. It's like a big brown swath, almost as if you poured dark coffee into a bathtub of water. These slicks of nutrient-rich poop act as a fertilizer, spurring the growth of carbon-trapping phytoplankton blooms. When the blooms die, they rain down all the way to the bottom, and that locks away the carbon for a long, long time. In addition to trapping carbon, phytoplankton also act as food for zooplankton, which in turn are eaten by larger marine animals. End quote. My bubbly business goose. Not only is this an astonishing food chain, but hold on to your luscious cheeks. The poop expelled by the whales in Dominica alone trap more than 4,000 tons of carbon each year. Whoa. If that sounds like a lot, it fucking is. That's the equivalent of 18,000 acres of forest. Yeah. And it's just these 250 whales. This shit is gold. It helps fight climate change, it feeds our other ocean-dwelling friends, and on rare occasions, it saves their own lives as well. It's just inspirational. After the break, we've all heard of a cabinet of curiosities, yes? But have you heard of nooks filled with tiny birds whose feathers have been plucked out by a falcon as a way to imprison and then eat them later? Yeah, that's a thing. And we're going to talk about it next. Stay tuned.
No one hates history, they just haven't found the right teacher yet. Or in this case, a nerdy best friend who loves to tell you all about world history, women's history, and weird history. Hi, I'm TK, the creator of For the Love of History podcast, a place for people who want to learn more but don't know where to start, and history lovers who want to break from the mainstream. From rat trials to warrior women, we cover topics from every country and era. Whether you're a history expert or just starting out, there's a place for you here in the Time Machine. So join me every Friday on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube for a brand new topic. See you there. Bye.
With Wired Science, you can geek out all you want. It's a podcast for anyone obsessed with math, science, space, biology, or technology. And it provides in-depth coverage on current news and discoveries. From strange diseases that turn your tongue fuzzy to tech that'll help crops grow from space. New episodes are released nearly every day, and they're typically under 10 minutes, so you can easily make them a part of your daily routine. Listen in the morning while you're getting ready or during lunch while you check NASA's astronomy picture of the day. Check out Wired Science now, wherever you get your podcasts. That's Wired Science, wherever you get your podcasts.
When Johann Rall received the letter on Christmas Day 1776, he put it away to read later. Maybe he thought it was a season's greeting and wanted to save it for the fireside. But what it actually was a warning, delivered to the Hessian colonel, letting him know that General George Washington was crossing the Delaware and would soon attack his forces. The next day, when Rall lost the Battle of Trenton and died from 2 colonial Boxing Day musket balls, the letter was found, unopened, in his vest pocket. As someone with 15,000 unread emails in his inbox, I feel like there's a lesson there. Oh well, this is The Constant, a history of getting things wrong. I'm Mark Chrysler. Every episode, we look at the bad ideas, mistakes, and accidents that misshaped our world. Find us at constantpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And we're back. We are so back. And my friends, I need you to squeeze out the rest of the sunscreen, slap it on, and to warm up the old time machine because we're heading on over to the innocent year of 2014. Now, I also hope you brought those magnificent binoculars from the whale watching escapade because now we're going to do a little bird watching as we've landed on the glorious island of Mogador. And for my fellow geographically challenged Americans who may be wondering where in the world this may be and why we're birdwatching of all things, don't worry, I've got you. And trust me, it'll be worth it. Everyone please, imagine Spain. Thank you. Point to the very southern tip. Okay, there is the famous landmark of Gibraltar. Now, if you move your finger further south, just a smidge, over the aptly named Strait of Gibraltar, you'll end up in Morocco, on the continent of Africa. And a few miles off the middle of Morocco's coastline is the teeny island of Mogador. It's only a mere 2 miles long and barely a mile across. It may be small in stature, but its significance lies in who calls this place home. My friends, drop whatever living creature you're holding, just drop them, don't worry, just pick up your phone and tap on today's post. Swipe past all the informative graphics about whale poo that I've provided, and once you do that, you'll land on a picture of what's called Eleanor's falcon. And if for some reason you can't drop the baby or the groceries you're carrying and take a look, fine, just imagine whatever comes to mind when I say the word falcon. These birds are the stunning representation of a falcon. Sharp curved beak, check. Large black eyes, check. Aerodynamic body, check. Claws for days, check, check, check. Everything about the outward appearance of these animals is quintessential falcon. But, and big but here, there's one characteristic about the falcons here that's unlike anything else on Earth, excluding humans. Let's get into it. My delicious business goose. In Morocco, there are 2 breeding colonies of Eleanor's falcon, both on the Atlantic coast, and one of them is located on Mogador. This makes Mogador a hoppin' place for ornithologists like Professor Abdel Jabbar Quinba of the University of Rabat. Now, although it's 2014, this isn't Professor A's first rodeo with Eleanor's falcons. He and his team have made many a previous observation about this species. For example, they're mainly insectivorous outside the breeding season. However, during their nesting period, from July to October, coinciding with the autumnal bird migration, both adults and chicks consume mainly birds, like hoopoes and swifts that migrate through the Mediterranean islands and the Atlantic coast. Professor A and the gang felt the nesting period for Eleanor's falcons on the island of Mogador was the perfect time to take a census of their population and maybe get in a little field work as well. Well, they had no idea what they were in for. My friends, head on back to our social media stuffs, swipe past the Eleanor's falcon, and you shall see an unhappy common whitethroat. Now, you'll notice a few other things about this bird, other than its expression. It's stuck in a fucking rock. Yeah, there's a small hole in the rock there, and this bird's just crammed inside it. And no, if you're wondering, common whitethroats don't live in rock formations. Now please, swipe past this angry bird and you'll see a common chiffchaff, which is a great name, but this bird is not in great condition. Its wings have been plucked, and so have its tail feathers. It's also in a steep ditch. Yeah, needless to say, it's not getting out either. Over and over, scenes like these were what Professor A and the gang kept coming across. It was unusual. So, like any good ornithologist, the team took a seat and waited and birdwatched. They could not believe what they were seeing. After a few days, it was clear to them, quote, "The falcons keep or imprison some prey in relatively deep cavities or in rock fissures from where they can't escape, as their flight feathers were already plucked. The falcons also keep the small birds they catch The falcons also keep the small birds they catch trapped in tight and deep holes, which makes them unable to move, neither their wings nor their hanging legs." End quote. From the study as published in the journal Alauda, volume 83. Whew, my friends. It's believed the Eleanor's falcons on the island of Mogador deliberately store birds as a means of maintaining live, fresh prey. And if that sounds familiar, yes, you're right. Animal husbandry is seen in only one other vertebrate animal so far, and that would be us. But don't take my word for it. Have a listen to the magnificently named Theodore Stankiewicz at California State University in Long Beach. God, Theodore Stankiewicz, what a gift to the world. Teddy Stanks went on to tell NewScientist.com, quote, "I haven't heard of anything like it in non-human vertebrates. Perhaps..." I'm so sorry. "Perhaps this innovation of simply immobilizing prey prior to catching has caught on and spread through the population." End quote. The less magnificently named Michael Steele at Wilkes University in Pennsylvania was also reached for comment, quote, "Given the right circumstances, prey availability and habitat for storing prey, it is reasonable to see how this behavior could evolve. End quote. Now, this is all fascinating. For an animal to have the foresight of benefits to storing live food, that's, well, unheard of. But I know what you may be thinking. Why do this to begin with? I mean, you've caught the bird. Why not just eat it? Well, my friends, great questions. And the answer may be even more mind-blowing. The team theorizes these falcons store live food because 1, it allows falcon parents to stay near their nest. 2, killing prey when the chicks or the birds themselves are hungry allows for a fresh meal. And from their study, quote, keeping prey alive 1 or 2 days may allow the falcons to have fresh food at the right moment because the dead prey brought to the nest and untouched can no longer be consumed as it dries out too quickly. End quote. It's just so smart. This is smart if this is true. And finally, the last reason. It's also possible the parents are giving their young chicks a learning opportunity to kill their own prey. This is wild. Yeah, I told you. It is so wild, some ornithologists are like, oh, hold up, maybe there's another explanation. Rob Simmons of the University of Cape Town in South Africa told New Scientist, quote, I don't believe a falcon has the cognitive ability to store prey like this. I think the bird's prey may simply be escaping and finding refuge. End quote. Well, Professor A noted more observations do need to be made, but I, for one, am totally Team Eleanor's falcon. I am totally Team Teddy Stanks. And if you're a long-time member of the flock, you know birds know what they're doing. I am staying clear of Mogador. So thank you for rating, listening, telling your friends about Teddy Stanks. It's just the best name. And it's real. Also tell them about the sperm whales that took a giant shit on their predator because it's just a good tactic. Just text them that with just texting, taking poops. Just tell them to shit themselves. That's it. That's what I'm getting at. I found it. And a diarrhea-sized thanks to the folks over at Airwave Media, the podcast network to which WTI belongs. If you love this show, and you do, you love the other podcasts in this family, and please, stay interesting.